Okay, so if you recollect, the topic I am going to discuss today is expenditure multiplier or demand multiplier. So if you recollect what I have said in the context of equilibrium income is that uh, an economy may not always attain or operate at equilibrium income. There could be possibilities of disequilibrium. Either the actual income is greater than the equilibrium income or it is less than the equilibrium income. But then I have discussed something about the process of iteration through which the equilibrium income can be restored. Suppose if you just recollect, I was talking about equilibrium income to be arrived at when y becomes equal to c plus I, income becomes equal to expenditure, and that income, given an example which I had taken, suppose it was 160. Now, if for any reason actual income of an economy is greater than 160, suppose it is 200. So what I discussed in the previous class is that we keep reducing our income or output until equilibrium income is restored, that is 160. So we gradually reduce the output from 200 to 190, then 182.5, and so on, assuming that MPC is 3 by 4. So this process of decreasing the income implies that the economy is experiencing a slowdown. As we keep reducing the income from 200 to 190, then to 182.5, and so on until it becomes 160, what is happening basically is that the income growth rate is negative. The growth rate of income is negative. Income is falling means growth rate of income is negative, which obviously implies that the economy is experiencing the phase of recession in the economy. I mean, it is one kind of a business cycle the economy will experience, that is the possibility of recession. So in order to restore equilibrium income, that is 160, you will have to pass through the phase of recession. The question is, can't we avoid this possibility of recession? Can't we realize higher income and convert that higher income into an equilibrium income? If today our income is 160, we like to make it 200. 160 was an equilibrium income. All that was produced was demanded. Then if 200 output is produced, can't we also attain equilibrium income, implying thereby that all that will be produced will also be demanded? If there is increase in output, that must also be demanded. Is it possible? So that explanation comes from the expenditure multiplier, which is also otherwise called as the demand multiplier. So, and this is something which Keynes has proposed as a model in macroeconomics to suggest that whenever there is increase in demand, autonomous demand, there would be increase in income, which will be higher than the increase in autonomous demand. So what Keynes basically says is that whenever the economy is experiencing recession, there is slowdown, there is deficiency in demand given supply, this can be overcome by government intervention. And how would government intervene? What would be the role of the government? As Keynes says, government should invest. In times of recession, government should invest. The investment by government should be autonomous. The What is the difference? And so what is this autonomous investment? It is that amount of investment which is independent of its determinants, like income, like MEC. As you know, in Keynesian context, we talked about the factors determining investment. One factor is marginal efficiency of capital, other factor is rate of interest. Similarly, one can say that investment is determined by income, as Keynes has also talked about that in its subsequent models. So, investment can be a function of income, it can be a function of MEC, it can be a function of rate of interest. But when I say it is autonomous, it is independent of these determinants. There would be another component of investment called induced investment, which is dependent upon the determinants. If I say income is the determinant, it is dependent upon income. Like if you recollect, consumption function, I have said C is equal to A plus BY. C is equal to A plus BY. Consumption function, C is total consumption is equal to A plus BY. A is autonomous consumption, BY is induced consumption. A is that amount of consumption which is independent of income. BY is induced consumption, which is determined by income. Similarly, investment can have two components. Investment function may comprise autonomous consumption and induced consumption. But what Keynes says is that it is the autonomous consumption which would lead to increase in income, which will be higher than the increase in autonomous investment. So in times of recession, or if the economy has to overcome recession, what is necessary is that government must undertake autonomous investment. So induced investment may not be expected during the times of recession, because during the times of recession, demand is already low, profit is at stake, income of the economy slows down. So you cannot expect the producers, profit-seeking producers, to come forward to invest. So the induced investment may not be forthcoming. Then who would make investment? Or what kind of investment would be there to save the economy? As Keynes says, it should be autonomous investment. Then who would make this autonomous investment? Keynes says it is the government. Government has to come as a savior. And then the question is, where would the government invest which is autonomous? As Keynes says, the government should invest in public utilities. Government should invest in public utilities. What are the public utilities? They are basically public infrastructure projects. They can be roads, airports, ports, hospitals, educational institutions, electricity, irrigation. These are all examples of public utilities. So Keynes says that government should create public utilities, which would be basically autonomous investment, and the impact of this autonomous investment on the economy would be higher than the amount of autonomous investment. And by how much would that be higher? It is multiplier times the original change in autonomous investment. Hence the term expenditure multiplier. But then why don't you use the term investment multiplier? Why are you using the term expenditure multiplier? I am talking about investment, but then I am using the term expenditure. First thing is that investment is also a kind of expenditure. Demand. It is also a kind of demand. If you recollect, I have talked about various kinds of demands: consumption demand, investment demand, private investment demand, then government expenditure, then the export demand, import demand. So all the different kinds of demands are there. Interestingly, if you generalize this model, you'll find that any type of autonomous demand, whether it is autonomous consumption demand or autonomous investment demand or any other type of autonomous demand, would lead to increase in income, which will be higher than the increase in autonomous demand. That's the reason why we name it as expenditure multiplier or demand multiplier. However, I will confine my analysis to investment multiplier only. I will only talk about one type of demand, autonomous demand, that is investment, autonomous investment. Then I discuss how autonomous investment would lead to change in autonomous investment would lead to change in income, which is higher than the change in autonomous investment. So what I am going to discuss are how is the multiplier determined. That means we say the increase in income will be greater than the increase in autonomous investment, and by how much it would be higher? It is multiplied times the rise in autonomous investment. So then we must know what is the value of multiplier. Second one is we must know how to derive the value of the multiplier. Third, we must understand how this process takes place. How do we following economic logic, we'll have to justify how the rise in income becomes equal to or becomes greater than the increase in autonomous investment, and so on. So let me begin the discussion on this multiplier with a few assumptions. As I said, I shall be confining my analysis to investment multiplier only. So I shall talk about only autonomous investment. So a few assumptions are critical to the discussion. One is that the volume of investment expenditure is autonomous, which I have already explained. Second one is consumption is a function of income and consumption function is linear. That means we are going with Keynesian consumption function, which I have already discussed. According to Keynes, consumption is a linear function of income, and income is the only determinant we are talking about. So how do we prove it is linear? We prove it is linear when we say C is equal to A plus BY. B is the slope of the consumption function, which should remain constant, which should remain unchanged. Then we prove that it is linear. Not only that the consumption function is linear, but also the slope of the consumption function, which is marginal propensity to consume, MPC, should be positive but less than 1. That is what also we have discussed under consumption function. Further, I would like to assume here that the economy in question is a closed one. That means I am only talking about a closed economy, not about the open economy. Open economy means there is foreign trade, export and import. So though this model can also be applied to the open economy, I will confine my analysis to the closed economy only. It can be generalized to the open economy as well. Now let me discuss how is investment multiplier determined. How can you derive the value of the multiplier? And what would be the value of the multiplier? First thing, as I have already clarified, if there is increase in autonomous investment, the rise in income is multiplied times the original change in autonomous investment. And you assume that the value of the multiplier is greater than 1. Now, how to derive the value of the multiplier? So in order to derive the value of the multiplier, let me first begin with an equilibrium situation. Then I proceed with the rest of the things. An economy attains equilibrium income when income becomes equal to expenditure. In the present case, let's assume that there are only two types of expenditures. I'm only dealing with a basic model. There are only two kinds of expenditure. One is consumption expenditure, the other one is investment expenditure. So, for the economy to attain equilibrium income, Y should become equal to C plus I. Then what is C and what is I for the economy in question? Let's say C is equal to A plus BY and I is autonomous. There is no induced I. Unlike induced consumption, there is no induced investment. Entire I is exogenous or autonomous. I is I0. So, in order to attain equilibrium income, what is necessary is that Y should become equal to C plus I. So, it is A plus BY plus I0. Bringing Y terms to one side, that is Y minus BY, you get A plus I0. So, finally, Y becomes equal to A plus I0 by 1 minus B. So this is equilibrium Y, equilibrium income. When you talk about the equilibrium income of an economy, at any point in time, what is that? As it appears from this particular formulation, equilibrium Y is nothing but the sum total of the autonomous expenditures divided by 1 minus B. B is what? Marginal propensity to consume. 1 minus B is marginal propensity to save. A is autonomous consumption, I0 is autonomous investment. So these are all autonomous demands. So autonomous demands divided by 1 minus B gives us the equilibrium Y. Now suppose the autonomous investment changes or I changes, investment changes from I0 to I0 plus del I. So the new I becomes in new time period. Suppose time period 1 had income Y, time period 2 has income which is different from Y. And that change in the new Y that we get is because of the change in I. Investment has risen from I0 to I0 plus del I. Suppose let's say I0 is 20, del I is 10. So investment has risen from 20 to 30 in next time period. Then what will happen to new equilibrium income? New equilibrium income, suppose we say it is Y1 different from Y. That Y1 would become now equal to C1 plus I1. You can say the new I is I1 and new C is C1. Then what would happen? It would become A plus BY1. Actually, there is a mistake here. Y, your consumption function C is equal to A plus BY. So this is the consumption function in when income is Y in time period 1, suppose. In time period 2, when we estimate C and income is Y1, or let's say in time period 0, Y is Y and C is C and I is I. But in time period 1, Y becomes Y1, so C will become C1. And C1 is equal to A plus BY1. That is the new income that we talk about. So there is a small mistake here. So you please read this A plus BY as A plus BY1 in the next case. That means in new equilibrium situation. So Y1 is equal to A plus BY1 plus I0 plus del I. Now, as you did in the previous instance, solving it for Y1, we shall get Y1 to be equal to, finally, A plus I0 plus del I divided by 1 minus B, as you can see here. So again, all the values in the numerator are basically autonomous demands. Autonomous consumption A, original autonomous investment I0 plus new autonomous investment del I, change in I. So what is then the change in equilibrium income? Change in equilibrium income is Y1 minus Y. Original Y was A plus I0 by 1 minus B. New income is A plus I0 by del I plus divided by 1 minus B. So Y1 minus Y, which is nothing but the change in Y, will become the difference between these two, which will finally give us del I by 1 minus B. So del Y is equal to del I by 1 minus B. Change in income is equal to change in autonomous expenditure, in this case autonomous investment, divided by 1 minus B, or it is 1 by 1 minus B into del I. And this 1 by 1 minus B, that reciprocal of 1 minus MPC, marginal propensity to consume, is nothing but the value of the multiplier called K. Let's say it is K. K is the value of the multiplier. Or you can say this K is nothing but del Y by del I. K is nothing but del Y by del I. 1 by 1 minus B is the reciprocal of the marginal propensity to save, or reciprocal of 1 minus marginal propensity to consume. So this is how we derive the value of K. So del Y, which is the change in income, is equal to K times the change in investment, autonomous investment. So multiplier is the amount by which equilibrium output will change when the autonomous investment changes by 1 unit. That is what is multiplier, as you can observe from this. But what do you know about MPC? As you already know, as I talked about this a little while ago, that the MPC value varies between 0 and 1. As Keynes has said, MPC value cannot be equal to 0, nor it can be equal to 1. It is greater than 0 always and less than 1. So K value as a result cannot be equal to 1, nor can it be equal to infinite. It will vary between 1 and infinite. And it is clear that higher the value of the MPC, higher would be the value of multiplier. Suppose you say MPC value is 3 by 4. Then the value of K will become 1 by 1 minus 3 by 4. So it will become 4. If value of MPC is half, K value would become 2. So higher the value of MPC, higher would be the value of K, which implies that depending upon the value of the MPC, any given amount of autonomous investment you make will realize different levels of income. Suppose there are two economies we talk about, American economy and Indian economy. MPC of the two countries, two economies may not be necessarily same. You can expect the MPC of the Indian economy to be higher than the MPC of the American economy in a particular time period. Suppose let's say MPC of the Indian economy is 3 by 4 and MPC of the American economy is half in the current time period. We have estimated MPC. Now, if $10 billion of investment is made, autonomous investment is made simultaneously in both the economies, simultaneously in both the economies, then in Indian economy, the rise in income will be 4 times. Eventually, income will rise by $40 billion if $10 billion of investment is carried out. Whereas same amount of autonomous investment in USA will let the economy realize 2 times the rise in autonomous investment. So their income will rise by $20 billion, whereas our income will rise by 4 times $40 billion. So higher the value of MPC, larger would be the value of the multiplier, and larger would be the, or higher would be the rise in income when there is rise in autonomous investment. The question is, all that I discussed is something which I proved mathematically. Next question is, what is its economic logic? How do we justify in terms of economics how the rise in autonomous investment would lead to rise in income, which is greater than the rise in autonomous investment? So what is the process of income propagation? What is the process of rising income? How does it rise? Does it rise overnight? That means today you make investment, tomorrow your income will rise by 4 times or 2 times or 3 times, whatever it is. Can it be possible? Or it involves a process, and eventually over a period of time you realize a higher income. In fact, that is true, that it follows a process of income propagation, and that would lead to increase in income finally, which is greater than the rise in autonomous investment. So let me take an example here to explain that. The table that I have shown here on this page deals with that particular example I am going to talk about. Let's talk about, suppose, Indian economy. In India, in time period 1, suppose let's say it is 2021. In time period 2021, the finance minister of the country makes an allocation of 10,000 crore rupees towards a road project. Road is a public utility project, as you know. Government has decided to invest 10,000 crore rupees in time period 1, that is 2021. So as you can see here, if I consider 2021 as round 1 or period 1, then in period 1 there is increase in demand by del I amount. The del I here is 10,000 crore rupees. This change in del I, change in I, that is del I, would lead to change in income by del Y amount in the same time period. In 2021, or in round 1, we made an investment of 10,000 crore rupees. The income will rise by 10,000 crore rupees at the end of that particular round. That is, del Y becomes del I. Question is how? How does the rise in investment would lead to rise in income exactly by the same amount in the same time period? It is basically because, as you know, when I say that government allocates 10,000 crore rupees to construct a road, construct some kilometers of roads, what does it mean? It implies that 10,000 crore rupees is injected to the economy. The road is constructed by using this money, the fund that is allocated by the government. There is a contractor involved which would be responsible to carry out the activities, but then that contractor will engage. Contractor means you can say, suppose L&T is given the responsibility to construct the road. So L&T will engage or hire various factors of production. It will engage labor. It will buy raw materials, like it will buy sand, it will buy cement, it will buy rods from different factories or different input owners, and it will hire a machine. All this 10,000 crore rupees of capital. So the 10,000 crore rupees. So the 10,000 crore rupees which is injected to the economy, I mean which is allocated by the government, that would lead to increase in income by 10,000 crore rupees in the form of wages and salaries, in the form of payment to cement factory, in the form of payment to the machine owners who has provided a machine in course of constructing the road, in the form of buying sand from a person who is selling the sand, or buying rods from a steel company, and so on. So in a sense, if you recollect the very first discussion I made about the circular flow diagram of income diagram, circular flow of income diagram, we have talked about this, how what is the income? Income is the rent, wage, interest, and profit. So whenever you carry out an activity, you generate rent for some, interest for some others, the profit for some others, wages and salaries for some others, and some other groups, and so on. You buy raw materials, you buy other things and all that. So this, when we say 10,000 crore rupees of fund is allocated by the government to construct new roads, 10,000 crore rupees of income is injected to the economy, or is generated for the economy. By the time the construction is complete, the 10,000 crore rupees has been injected to the economy in the form of a part as profit, which goes to the company which is constructing the road, which is acting as a contractor. Part goes as raw material price, another part goes as wages or salaries, and so on. And they are all a part of the economy. So this economy generates an income of 10,000 crore rupees by the time the road project is complete. So in a sense, even you can say the value of the road project, or you have invested 10,000 crore rupees, means the value of the road project is 10,000 crore rupees. That is another way to look at it. So the income generated by the end of one round is 10,000 crore rupees. So summation del y by the end of one round is del I. Now, after this income is generated, after the road construction is complete, when the income is generated, suppose let's assume that in the next time period, Government of India doesn't allocate any new fund. It is only once government gave 10,000 crore rupees to this road project. In the subsequent time periods, there is no new allocation happening. But income generation will continue to happen, even if no further investment is going to happen. So how is the income generation continuing? How is the income generation continuing beyond time period 1? The process goes as follows. In time period 1, the income generated for the economy is 10,000 crore rupees, that is del I. Assuming that MPC value is half, let's say MPC value is half, implying that thereby that out of every 2 rupees increase in income, 1 rupee will be consumed and 1 rupee will be saved. So if 10,000 crore rupees of income is generated in the economy, 50% of this income will be spent on consumer goods. All those who own this income, who purchase this income, they will decide to consume or spend 50% of this income on buying consumer goods. What are the consumer goods? TV, fridge, washing machine, camera, laptops, cars, and these are all examples of consumer durables. All the different types of consumer goods we buy. So the consumer good demand will increase by 50% of the total rise in income. So what is that 50%? It is B del Y. If I say change in income is del Y, that is 10,000 crore rupees, change in consumption would become B del Y. B is the marginal propensity to consume. Change in income will become B del Y. But as because we know del Y is equal to del I, then if I say change in C, that is del C is equal to B del Y, then I can also say del C is equal to B del I. Del Y is same as del I, hence B del Y is same as B del I. So del C becomes equal to B del I. In which time period that is happening? The del C is happening, that is in time period 2. So there is increase in demand for consumer goods in time period 2 by B del I. And what is this increase in demand? This is increase in consumption demand. In the first time period, del I constituted increase in investment demand. But in time period 2, B del I becomes the increase in consumption demand. So then what would you expect out of this? You will expect that if there is demand for consumer goods by B del I amount, that is 5,000 crore rupees, assuming that B is half, at least this much of consumer goods will be produced by the consumer goods industries. The consumer goods industry will produce additional goods worth of 5,000 crore rupees as because it is in demand. More TV will be produced, more fridge will be produced, more computers will be produced because there is increase in demand for all these. Because del C has become 5,000 crore rupees. Change in consumption has become 5,000 crore rupees. So consumer goods industries will produce goods worth, at least goods worth of B del I. So by the end of second year or second time period or second round, how much is the total income generated? What is cumulative total of income? It is del I plus B del I. Del I is what we generated in time period 1. B del I is what we generated in time period 2. So del I plus B del I becomes the total income by the end of second year. So 10,000 plus 5,000, that becomes 15,000. So del I plus B del I is nothing but 1 plus B into del I. Now what will happen in time period 3? If del Y becomes B del I in time period 2, that means in time period 2, consumer goods industries produced goods worth of 5,000 crore rupees. All those who participated in the production process of consumer goods, they own this income, remember. This 5,000 crore rupees again is generated in the form of rent, wage, interest and profit, you can say. So what will happen? All those who will possess this particular income, 5,000 crore rupees, what they will do with this income? 50% of their income they will consume. And because you have already estimated MPC to be 50%, MPC to be 0.5. So 50% of 5,000 is 2,500. So in the next round, the new consumption demand, change in consumption demand would become B into B del Y or B into B del I which is nothing but B square del I. That would become 2500. So if in time period 3, the demand increases, consumption demand increases by 2500 rupees. Sorry, 25, I am talking about 15,000, yes. So 5,000 and then 2,500. So 2,500 is what will be the demand. Then at least that amount of goods will be produced again. Consumer goods will be produced again by the consumer goods industry. So B square del I becomes the new del Y. So by the end of third year or third time period, the total income generated for the economy is del Y, del I plus B del I plus B square del I, which is nothing but 1 plus B square into del I. By same logic, in time period 4, the output to be produced is PQ del I, which will become 1250, 50% of the previous income. So 1250. And that amount of consumer goods again will be produced, BQ del I, which will make the cumulative total of income as 1 plus B square plus B3 into del I. So the process continues till an infinite time period T, when the change in consumption will become BT minus 1 del I. As you have observed, in time period 2, the change in consumption is B del I. So in time period T, it would become BT minus 1 del I. Hence, the amount of output to be produced in time period T would also become BT minus del I. Now, what will be the total output, cumulative total? It is 1 plus B square plus BQ up to BT minus N, T minus 1 into del I. So, what you observe? That income is gradually increasing until it becomes a higher level of income. And how much is that income? That income is 1 by 1 minus B into del I. How do we arrive at 1 by 1 minus B into del I? Because as you observe, the sum total of the income is 1 plus B square plus BQ up to B plus BT, up to BT minus 1 into del I. That is the sum total of income. And B is a fraction. As you already know, B value is half or 3 by 4 or something. It is less than 1. So then what will happen? B square is lower than B, BQ is lower than B square, and so on. So basically, it is giving us a declining GP series, geometric progression. Income originally was 10,000, then it became 5,000, then it became 2,500, then it became 1,250, then half of that, then half of that, then half of that, and so on. So what you have observed is income decreased. The change in income decreased gradually until it approached 0. And BT minus 1 del I will approach 0 because B is a fraction. So this declining GP series I talk about, that will obviously give us the summation formula of this 1 plus B square plus BQ up to BT minus 1 del I. So that summation formula, that summation of that will give you 1 by 1 minus B into then del I. So as you already have discussed this, another way to derive this K value, this 1 by 1 minus B is nothing but the value of the K multiplier. So it is multiplier times the change in I. What is the value of the multiplier? Then if I assume here B is half, then the value of the multiplier will be 2. So we made an investment of 10,000 crore rupees in time period 1. In time period T, which is the final time period, our total income increased to, or total income became 2 times the original change in autonomous investment. It is 20,000 crore rupees. So this is how the process of income propagation takes place. So when you say income is autonomous investment increases, how it leads to increase in income? Mathematically, we have proven that how it happens. Now we observe that there is a process of income propagation. So this particular table explains that how the rise in income becomes k times the change in autonomous investment, rise in autonomous investment. So this is how the economy realizes higher and higher income whenever there is rise in autonomous investment. Okay, so this is what I'll stop here today. I'll discuss in the next classes. I'll discuss the two different cases. That is, if the rise in autonomous investment is temporary, vis-a-vis if the rise in autonomous investment is permanent. So I shall discuss that in the next class when I meet you. But before that, just one. Let me explain just one more thing. All that I did with the help of the mathematical derivation and the tabular presentation can be presented with the help of a diagram, where you can observe here there is an equality line starting from the which is starting from the origin, having a 45-degree angle, and then I have drawn a demand curve, aggregate demand curve, which is a blue line. Then I have increased the autonomous demand, suppose autonomous investment, and then I have drawn a new line above that, which is the black line, and you see that it is the two lines are parallel to each other, which implies that I am only changing the autonomous demand. I am not changing the induced demand. That means I am not changing the slope. Slope, that small c, a bar plus cy, as you can see here, small c is not which is not changing. It is remaining unchanged. I am only changing a bar from a bar to a bar dash in the next case. So that is leading to increase in income from y0 to y1, y0 dash, for example, which is higher than the rise in autonomous demand. And there is so as I was telling you, it is the slope of the consumption function that will determine what would be the value of the k and what would be the rise in income, how much would be the rise in income. So if the slope of the consumption function can determine what would be the value of k, in another sense you can say that it is the slope of the saving function which can also determine what would be the value of k. Because we have said value of k is nothing but 1 by 1 minus MPC B. 1 minus MPC is what? It is marginal, 1 minus MPC is marginal propensity to save. So it is the slope of the saving function. Okay, so in this diagram, in these two diagrams, I have talked about the saving investment equality, not y is equal to c plus I. As you know, y is equal to c plus I is same as s becoming equal to I. So as you can see, let's look at the right side diagram. There are two saving curves I have drawn, saving plus tax. I have also talked about this kind of a curve earlier in the equilibrium income. The autonomous demand curve, both of them are horizontal. I0 plus G. I0 is autonomous investment, G is government expenditure. That suppose that increases, I0 increases from I0 to I1. So there is autonomous rise in autonomous investment. That is what we are showing by shifting the blue line. But then there is saving curve. Here saving plus tax both are taken together because both are the increasing functions of income. And as you can observe here, there are two curves having two slopes. One is steeper, the other one is flatter. And accordingly, the income level changes. Income rises from Y0 to, there are, again, there is a mistake. So you can say three income levels I am talking about. One equilibrium income originally at Y0 level. Then there are two new levels of income I am talking about. So depending upon the slope of the S saving curve, saving and tax curve, you can see the income can rise. Actually there is no mistake. It is YG. Okay, so income can rise from Y0 to YG or to Y1. Income can rise from Y0 to YG or Y1 depending upon the slope of the saving curve. High, greater the slope, lower would be the change in income you can expect, because saving is a leakage. As I have already told you, higher the MPC value, higher is the value of K, and higher would be the rise in income, which would imply higher the MPS value, marginal propensity to save, lower would be the value of K. So saving that way is a leakage in the income stream. So this is all that I discussed today. In the next class when I meet, I shall take up two issues. One is if rise in investment is temporary, vis-a-vis if the rise in investment is permanent. Okay, so here I stop. If you have any questions to ask me, you may.